I'm a crotchety old fuck, and I just can't get past the point that the first time I saw AC/DC, I paid $12.75.
Right, there's that too.
I ain't paying that much to see him.
Yeah.
I don't like looking at those old ticket stubs in my shoebox.
Don't they?
It's pretty depressing, you know. $6 for Alice Cooper at the Coliseum.
Well, dude, how much are that? I know you're an Udo guy, and I'm very pumped about that tour.
Right.
How much are those tickets?
25 advance, 30 day of show.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's really not bad.
It was a very expensive show for Chris Zederbart at the Agora to purchase.
And he's doing it. Why is he doing it so cheap? Because he's not sure?
Well, I mean, that's not that cheap. It's a weeknight in the middle of winter, so
yeah, I guess.
He draws an older crowd. It's hard to get them out on a weeknight.
Yeah, but it is the last ever time he's going to play these songs until next tour. until nobody's coming out to see UDO.
Yeah.
I like Udo, but man, those Accept songs are iconic. I don't know why he would want to stop performing them.
Yeah, I don't get. The only thing I could think of with that is he's doing that because he almost is embarrassed with the new guy in the band that he has to resort to what they're doing. You know, because he really doesn't like that they're. There's
bad blood.
There's definitely bad blood.
I can personally attest to that.
Yeah, and he bashes that, the new guy's no good. I'm like, no.
Yeah, the new guy's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah, and then he'll retract, like his last Blabbermouth story, he said favorable things about him.
Right.
So, you know, hey, Udo will always be the voice of Accept.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'll tell you what, Udo didn't put out an album like the last three from Accept in the last 25 years.
Right, they found a great replacement.
Yeah, those Udo records, those last few were really not good.
That time they played at the Agora with King's X, they would even play the new songs, and halfway through the new songs, everybody's singing along. It's just that short, simple, catchy fucking metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wolf Hoffman is really an underrated guitar player.
Yeah, but that being said, nobody should buy that fucking Headbanger Symphony.
Oh,
what a bag of shit that is! I
haven't listened to it.
God, I just got it yesterday, and I was like, yeah, Wolf Hoffman, this is going to be great.
I have not heard it yet.
I put it on and was like, dude, really? You know, is this what we're doing now? It's like classical music. It's not even like metal interpretations.
Oh, it's just straight up classical.
It's just straight up classical. I was like, but he calls it Headbanger Symphony so that he can sell to the metal people.
Well, I didn't like the last Udo live record where he had
the Navy ship night or that.
I actually witnessed that at Vakken. I ran through the mud to see that show. The rest of my band and crew thought I was insane. It was pouring rain, and Vakken was just a swamp. They let me off at the entrance, and I ran literally to the stage, and I couldn't believe how bad that was.
Really?
I was like, why did I just do this?
Now, was that with the orchestra or whatever?
Yeah.
See, this is so bad.
It just didn't work.
I'm gonna tell you a sad story of mine that is so true, and I love Udo. I'm gonna preface this by saying I love Udo. One of my favorite guys to interview, even though he like Doro says, you know what I mean? He says it all the fucking time. He says, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? He just keeps saying the same thing. But I'm interviewing him, and he told me about it. This was like on, what was the album? The last UDO record. Whatever that was. You know, whatever it was. The one with the clown or something on it. Whatever that is. Something Electrocutor or something.
Master Cuter
or something. Yeah, whatever. I mean, all those records are the same at this point. But I'm interviewing him, and I asked him, I said, what's coming up in the near future? And he goes, I'm working on this great project. It's going to be me with the symphony. And I said to him, I wish I had the audio because I'd play it right now. I said to him, you do know that most metal fans hate those records, right? And he goes, I know that they didn't like with Metallica, but I bring a different kind of thing than Metallica. And I said to him, okay, Udo, I will listen to it. but I totally was like, dude, you're going to shit the bed with this. And sure enough, I heard that Navy Night thing, whatever that's called, and oh, is that a bag of shit.
Well, you know the first band to do With a Symphony is Kiss.
Oh, well, that's great.
Australia.
Remember that Kiss Symphony? And they're talking in the documentary, the making of, well, you know, we're the first band to do this. And I'm like, didn't
assholes?
Didn't Metallica do this? And didn't Deep Purple do this?
I don't like it. Has there ever been a good one of those?
That Steve Vai live DVD he did with the Metropole Orchestra sounds great in fucking surround sound.
I will never experience that. Next topic. Steve Vai with an orchestra? Jesus Christ.
Great. What about Mike Patton when he sang those fucking Italian songs with that orchestra?
Don't want to see that either. Stop it. I'm waiting for you to name anybody that I would like to see it with a symphony.
Those were the two I had.
Mike Patton, I might tolerate, but I know he'd be so fucking weird that would just be off the charts awful.
He sings all of it in Italian.
Oh, well, that's really appealing to me, who doesn't speak any. That's horrible. Sings it all in Italian. Jeez, I'd rather hear Hitler clips played over a symphony. That would be something. That would probably be entertaining, somewhat. Dude, there's never been a symphony thing that's been good. Never.
Waiting for Manowar to do it.
Didn't they do it already? I think they did.
They've done some recording with symphony.
They've done some.
Yeah,
wasn't that Thunder in the Sky with an orchestra?
Yeah, they've done some shows, I think, with a German orchestra.
Have they? Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since Manowar just came up, we're going to Manowar. You're a Manowar fan, Bill.
My daughter and I
fucking love Manowar.
Yeah. I love them.
I could care less.
I know you don't like them.
It's not that I don't like them. I don't know enough of their stuff, and I've met Joey many, many times, and he's kind of a douchebag. And because Eric Adams, on the other hand,
oh yeah, nice guy.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Well, you know, with Manowar, Joey DeMaio is he's Manowar.
Yeah.
The other guys are all hired, guns. I mean, even Eric Adams, I think most people thought, well, he's got to be a vested partner. No. It's all Joey. Yes, Eric.
So Joey makes all the money.
Eric is just hired and paid a salary when he tours and records.
Jeez, oh man.
Yeah, he makes all the decisions. Yeah, it's his baby.
So I know, Bill, you are well ingrained into the Manowar thing. So they're retiring. I guess my first question is why? Why are they retiring? Is Joey made enough money?
I'm not sure. Eric Adams, I believe Chris is over. Is he 60? He's getting.
Is he really?
Yes.
Gotta be up there.
Yes, he's old. He's older. I mean, maybe early 60s.
Jeez.
You can look that up. I'm not exactly sure, but
let me look that up.
Check that up. He's older than you think.
You can't have a reunion tour until you have a farewell tour.
That's true.
Is Ross the Boss going to make any sort of appearance in this touring?
No, Ross the Boss and Joey do not get along at all.
I know
Joey's
they don't.
re-recording over his parts on new versions.
I know, which is
albums.
horrendous.
Ross the Boss just played at the Keep It True Festival with a new singer,
band,
and he did a Manowar set.
Yeah.
And he's going back to do it again in Germany this summer.
I know Ross, and he would love to play, but his thing is he's not going to do it until Joey asks him, and Joey's never going to ask him.
He is 61, by the way, Eric
61,
Adams.
Eric.
Wow.
I think, Chris, he's getting near the end. I know that his voice has slipped a little bit if you listen to the recent live performances. He's still a great singer.
So who should retire first, Eric Adams or Rob Halford?
I thought Rob sounded really good on the last tour.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that just because Bartek's listening right now.
No, I saw that tour, the Redeemer of Souls tour.
The last time he played here, I was really impressed.
Yeah, was that with Zach? Was that the last time they were here in Cleveland?
Oh, wait a minute, was that
with Zach and with Thin Lizzy?
No.
They've been here since.
They've been back since.
I think they were back again, or maybe I saw him in.
I think we all saw him in Pittsburgh.
Was that where we saw him?
Because I ran into you and Bartek.
Okay, his voice I thought was.
I thought he sounded good that day.
Yeah.
And then Glenn Tipton looked like he should retire immediately.
And the last live album from Wacken, I thought they sounded good too.
Was that Battle Cry?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Does he look any more excited on stage? Last time I saw him, Halford looks so bored on stage.
I thought he was a little more animated this time. Yeah. I know what you're saying, though. The tour previous to this last run,
He looked like he didn't care.
And his
walking
voice,
around with that big ass trench coat with his gut hanging out,
back hunched over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it just looked like it was a sound check. He just looked like he didn't give a fuck.
Was that Nostradamus tour?
Yeah.
That would make me not give a fuck, too. Jesus Christ, that
And
album
I think
stinks.
that tour or one of those is where Bruce Dickinson was calling them out for reading lyrics on stage for breaking the law.
He says he can't remember him anymore.
He said that's the simplest song. I mean, I don't know.
He said he can't remember him anymore?
Yeah, they've got fucking monitors all over the stage for him. That's why he's always hunched over.
I mean,
He said he
20,000
can't
people
remember
are
shit.
singing the song, and the singer doesn't know it. It's just
Why doesn't he go all Vince Neil? Just stick it out there. Come on, you guys.
Hannon and I went to that one where they did what they did the fucking one album all in its entirety.
Not Nostradamus.
No, it was after
British Steel.
Nostradamus when they
British
did
Steel, yeah.
British Steel, and he just looked like he didn't give a fuck. And then he came out with Nostradamus, and they did 2 songs, and he had this big mirrored, jeweled fucking trench coat on with his gut hanging out. And I looked at Michael and I said, "Fucking Jesus! I almost wore that same outfit. How embarrassed would I have been?"
He was great here. On that tour, the British Steel tour,
Yeah.
they were great here.
I think that was at Tower City
Amphitheater, yeah,
I like
or
that
Nautica, or one of those. One of those outdoor places.
Tower City.
Yeah, it was great. I went to that show. That was fantastic. I was amazed because I had seen Halford on Nostradamus tour when they did what was supposed to be the greatest tour of my life with Testament and Motorhead and Judas Priest. I drove all the way to Chicago to see that, and Judas Priest shit the bed. Oh my God, they were bad. I was Judas Priest, one of my top 5 bands ever. I love Judas to the point that I love Turbo. I can tolerate Ram It Down. I can tolerate everything but Nostradamus. Nostradamus is just terrible.
It's an awful record.
But man, oh man, when we went to Chicago, we drove all the way from here to Chicago, and I guess that's not all the way, but it's 5 hours of driving for one purpose, to see this tour. And Testament kicked ass, and Motorhead kicked ass, and Heaven and Hell kicked ass, and Judas Priest sucked. Not weren't good, sucked. Halford didn't give a shit. Glenn Tipton damn near had to be wheeled out on stage. It was really, really depressing.
KK was still in the band.
Yeah, that was when KK was still in the band.
Maybe that's why he's not in the band now.
Isn't that stupid that he won't just say why he's not in the band? I mean, we all know.
He's got that golf course and fucking
But that's
cologne
not why he's
business
not in the
going
band.
on now.
That's not why he's not in the
fucking
band.
mogul.
He said he had disagreements with the management.
Yeah,
and
he's not in the band because he doesn't like Jane, and because he did not like the direction of Nostradamus, and he doesn't want to do that anymore. And you're way closer to this than me, Bill, because you're an insider more than anybody in this room on Judas Priest. There were compromises made to bring Rob back to the band. There were definite Rob taking more control over some of the writing to bring him back. Yes or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
Also financially, too.
Oh, of course.
And, Rob and management didn't get along.
Not at all.
Either. They kissed and made up.
Yeah.
They needed Rob back. Tim had a good run.
Sure.
He kept the thing going.
But, I mean, they were down to playing clubs at that point.
Yeah, I mean, here in Cleveland, they played the Agora when they came through. But, I thought Tim did a good job.
I did, too.
And it kept the name, kept the band going during some tough times.
Yeah, and what's really, I know people wanted Rob to come back. I did too.
I think Tim even didn't mind
it.
Yeah,
Tim didn't
Tim
care.
was a fan of Priest before.
And Tim knew that his career was made for the rest of his career from being in that band. He didn't care.
Why not? Sure. He deserves it.
But I honestly think that if you really looked at it objectively, My God, Rob did not do shit when he wasn't in Judas Priest. What did he do?
That first Fight record I really like.
Yeah, I like Resurrection. Halford out.
But they didn't sell for dick.
No.
Anybody? Any
I don't
Two
judge
fans
on
here?
Sales, I didn't like Two.
I didn't like Two at all.
Yeah.
Two was really bad. Fight was okay, but it didn't have. I mean, Fight.
The first one, especially.
The
Fight.
second one's awful.
Fight put
I
him in
like the
the.
second one.
Fight was still a club level band,
Right.
and
Didn't they play Flashes?
Yes,
I think
they
so,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rob Halford did Flashes.
yeah, that's horrible. I mean, that's horrendous. But at the same time, you know, the first time Ripper came through with Judas Priest, they played what, the Agora,
The Agora, yeah.
and it was a small show. I mean, it was what, 2,000 people maybe.
Yeah, and I think that show still has the record for the most guest list.
Oh, I'll bet it did.
At Agora show.
I was on it. You were
Tim
on it.
Had all his family and
Yep.
friends.
Tim hooked
Yeah,
me
the
up.
guest list was ridiculous. I mean, it was hundreds, literally
Yeah,
hundreds
it was.
of Tim Owens' friends.
One of the funniest things after the show was over and they ushered everybody out. Tipton was sitting at a table. They had like some tables set up there in the ballroom, like on the floor in the ballroom. And Tipton was sitting there, and I went over to him and I asked him if I could get an autograph. And that's very rare for me. I have like 6 total in my life that I just don't do autographs. But it's Glenn Tipton. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to get, this is my shot. I'm going to get my Glenn Tipton autograph. And Tipton said to, and this is like the coolest rock moment I've ever had. Tipton said, I'll sign whatever you want, but why don't you sit down and talk to me for a couple minutes?
Nice.
And I was like, okay. And I sat there, and I probably talked to Glenn Tipton for 45 minutes. He just was like, no one was around him. He didn't have like a chick in town or whatever. And he just was like lonely or something. And he just wanted to talk about music. And we started talking, and he was amazed that I even knew of that, whatever that solo record was that he did. Was it Baptism by Fire or
Yeah,
something?
that came out on Atlantic Records.
Yeah.
I was working there at the time.
Yeah.
I was excited, but man, when I heard it,
Yeah.
his vocals weren't too good.
The tens of records it sold were probably amazing. That did not sell well. I can't imagine that you. I gotta imagine that you could reach the top shelf by standing on the returns. I don't think that one sold well.
I think there were more returns than ones that were sold. I don't know how that happened.
That Kiss thing, yeah. Ship gold, return platinum, yeah.
So anyway, let's go back to the Manowar thing for a minute. So they're announcing their big goodbye tour. I don't understand why. And maybe I know you're saying that Eric is older and whatnot, but there's a lot of guys in their 60s that are still doing it. Do you think that it has something to do with the fact that there's just not any money in gimmick rock anymore?
I think in Europe they still pull the crowds in.
Oh yeah. Manowar's still a huge draw in Europe.
And the last couple times they played, I remember seeing them when they played the U.S. in the late 90s, early 2000s, when they do warm-up gigs all over Ohio to 50 people. And the last time they played the Agora, they were like $75 fucking tickets, and they sold it out.
Yeah.
Two shows.
They only played in East Coast and Cleveland, so they only did 2 shows. So a lot of people came in from around the country.
Right.
But if they actually did a tour of the U.S., it probably would be smaller clubs.
Yeah.
No, there's still a huge draw in Europe. I mean, they can release a record whenever they want, every 2 years or 10 years. The fans are still there. I think there may be some, other reasons that we don't know about. Maybe health issues.
You think?
Or maybe, 1 or 2 of the guys say, hey, we don't want to do this anymore.
Right. And you don't think Joey would just replace them? Or is maybe Joey one of them?
It could be. We don't know.
I got to think that Joey would have to be... If Joey wanted to continue, he'd bring in another dude, you would think.
I'm not sure.
He's replaced guys
especially
before.
Eric Adams. I don't know
You
if
can't replace
I don't
him,
know
I
if he
don't
would
think.
do that with Eric. Guitar player, sure. Drummer, sure.
Yeah.
But no, I think he has to have Eric.
You think?
Maybe Eric just doesn't, maybe Eric said, I got to stop.
Yeah.
Time to sit down and put on some Cracker Jack clothes. I was blackballed by the Manowar camp.
All right, you have to tell this story.
2 instances.
Go ahead.
The first
Were you
one,
posting on their page or something?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, the first one I was shooting for some different magazines at the time, and I emailed Magic Circle Records, which was Joey's label, and I got an email back from Joey confirming a photo pass. Okay. So I go to the House of Blues. I'm down. I'm the only guy in the photo pit, and I'm shooting. All of a sudden, Joey looks down and looks at me and just shakes his head. Well, I just keep shooting. And I love Manowar. They're like the WWF. That they never blinked and said it was fake. Love those guys.
Right.
And I'm shooting, and I go around, and I'm getting all the shots I need, and then he comes and walks over and stands in front of me and does the cutthroat thing like that. And I take photos of him. And then he points to the side of the stage. Here comes the tour manager, grabs me and drags me out of the pit, takes me backstage, and this is like my real-life Spinal Tap moment.
Right.
I fucking love it. While the band is playing, Joey runs off stage, playing his bass, and starts ripping my ass. Who are you? What are you doing in there? No one takes photos of Manowar. And I'm howling, because he's playing
Right.
like this. Off to the side of the stage, ripping my ass, and I'm like, this is fucking great. And, of course, I had the email in my back pocket. I printed out because I knew this was going to fucking happen.
Right.
And pull it out and hand it to the tour manager, and the tour manager holds it up so Eric can read it while he's playing. And then yells in the tour manager's ear and runs back on stage. And the tour manager says, Mr. DeMaio would like to apologize, but you are not allowed to take any photos. We need your memory card and these photos. I said, no, you're not getting the card, and I'd already pulled it out and put it in my pocket. Mr. DeMaio requests that you can be our guest the rest of the show. You can be Manowar's guest.
Thanks.
But I have to walk you to the car, and you have to put your camera in it. So he's walking me out, and I'm like, is it because I'm wearing Cracker Jack clothes? And I'm just fucking with him the whole time. And he's just like, he looks so dejected, just shaking his head. And I'm like, and we're walking out, and I'm like, wimps and posers, leave the hall. So they take me out. I put my shit in the car, come back, and there was someone physically with me the rest of the show following me. And I'm like, this is fucking great. So fast forward a few years. And I knew someone in the Manowar camp, and they had told me that Scott Columbus hasn't been in the band for 3 years, and they're promoting it like he's still in the band. And when they go and do the shows in Europe, they always say Scott's sick, he can't make the show.
Right.
But they've had zero contact with him for 3 years.
Oh, my God.
And at the time, I was writing for Classic Rock Magazine, and I said, hey, would he like to do an interview, an exclusive? And so Scott calls me, and we talk like 3 or 4 times, and he thinks, okay, you're all right. We do the interview, and he proceeds in the interview to talk about, remember when he was fired, or when Rhino came in and was a drummer, and they said that Scott's son had leukemia? In this interview, he says, my son never had leukemia. They made this shit up. He goes, my son never had leukemia. They made this shit up. And he's like, I'm perfectly healthy. I'm ready to play, and they won't return my calls.
Oh, my God.
So I do this whole big interview, and Scott Rowley, my editor, says, we need a rebuttal from Manowar for this. So I call Manowar's offices and say, here's what Scott has said.
Yeah.
Can I get a rebuttal? And they put me on hold for like 10 minutes. And then somebody comes back and says, we know who you are. We know where you are. We have no comment. We will never speak to you, and you're never allowed at a Manowar show again. And hung up. And they instantly, and so I emailed my editor and said, hey, this is what they said. And they're like, we're posting this fucker online. We're not even waiting for the magazine. And they literally, within 20 minutes, had scrubbed every photo of Scott Columbus from the website and everything. And it was, so I've got a fatwa against me, Manowar. And I just know that like every Manowar show in the U.S., they've got my photo, and they're going up to every fat guy with a goatee and looking at him. And no, it's not him. No, it's not him. But I love those guys, and I'm like, I've been blackballed by Manowar, and I couldn't even go on the message board. Like my IP, I can't even do another. Even to this day, I try to put in another username, and it's like, you have been blocked by the Kings of Metal.
That's awesome. Well, I don't have any Manowar stories other than I've met them. I met them when they played at the Flying Machine. Remember that?
I love that place in the back of a trailer park.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was strange.
And then you had that place out in the gravel. I do remember we were out there hanging because I was interviewing Doro, who was opening that show. And they were bringing in, like, the ramps and shit to ride the motorcycle. I was like, where are you going to put this shit? You know, that stage was about as big as this room. And they're bringing in motorcycle ramps. It's like, what the hell?
I remember when Joey was yelling at me off stage, I thought his glass eye was going to pop out of his head. He
Jeez,
was
oh, man.
so mad.
Wow. Unbelievable. So, Bill, when they do the final run, you'll be there?
In Europe? I mean, or here? Are they going to come through here?
If they come through here, are you going?
Oh, of course. Yeah, sure.
What, Detroit?
I'll go anyway. You know, I travel. I'll go wherever I have to go.
New York?
Maybe New York. You know, they're from the Auburn, Rochester area.
Right, so they'll play Detroit.
First show I ever saw them was on the, let's see, boy, what was the big hit album on Z-Rock, 1987?
Fighting the World.
Fighting the World.
Every single day.
I saw them at the Penny Arcade in Rochester. That was my first show.
Wow.
1986 or 7.
I was on the phone with an IT guy like a month ago.
Yeah.
And we're talking, waiting on this shit to load on my computer at work. And I said, where are you from, man? Where am I talking to you from? And he goes, I'm in Auburn, New York. And I said, fucking hail and kill, the home of the kings of metal. And he's like, I've been an IT support guy for 20 years, and no one has ever mentioned Manowar. So he told this story about his cousin is from Germany, and he said like 15 years ago they came to visit, and my nephews, I said, you guys know Manowar? And he's like, they went apeshit. They're like, the kings of metal, we love them. So he's like, I drove them around and said, this is the school where they went to. And he said it was like I took them to Disneyland, and everywhere they went, they took photos of, you know, this is where Manowar played basketball.
Very nice. That is funny, man. Well, all right, guys, let's play a couple of tunes. I still have beer, but somebody might need beer. I was going to say you probably need beer. It's been 3 minutes. So we'll play some tunes. Why don't we play something from somebody with some Manowar legacy? We mentioned Ross the Boss earlier. Why don't we play a little Ross the Boss? All right, from his album Hailstorm. Let's play the title track. How's that sound? All right, nobody answered. It's fine.
On the classic metal show. Fucking hail and kill, motherfucker.
All right, let's go.